I'm Tamika D. Mallory.
And it's your boy Mysonne the General.
We are your host of TMI.
Tamika and Mysonne's information, truth, motivation, and inspiration.
New name, new energy, but
same old us. How are you doing, Tamika D. Mallory?
I'm doing good. And yourself, my son Lennon?
I'm just dealing with snow.
Did you shovel yourself? But we have in New York City, I don't know. It's a lot of snow. That's all I can say. I think they said somewhere like 15, 16 inches of snow fell. But it just depends on where. So you could be in certain areas and you got 11
Well, 15, 16 inches fell where I'm at. That's all I can tell you.
Same for me.
Yeah, I had to dig my car. It's better than last time because last time it snowed. I wasn't in New York, so when I got back, my car was buried in ice. It wasn't even snow no more. Mm-hmm. So it was completely buried in ice. But this time the snow was still soft. So I parked in the street, but I parked in a place where it wasn't difficult to get out. So I had to snow for about a good 15, 20 minutes, but then I was able to drive my car. It was completely covered in snow, but then I was able to drive myself out. So
yeah, you know what? In my house there were a number of men who started out shoveling and doing what they needed to do, and then a woman and her family came by. A woman and a family and said that they were out helping to shovel people out, and a little tip, they would help, and they did a lot of the work. They did the majority of the work. They did all the cars. They did, the garbage cans and the passageways and all of that. So, I wasn't going to do none of it. No how. However, it's good to, good that people are still out. Let me say, when they said the snowstorm was coming, I went in my phone to find these two guys' numbers, because what I do is hang out the window looking for people yelling down the block like, over here, to get people to come to shovel my snow because they walk all around. And when I looked at my phone and I text one of the numbers, I realized that the last time I texted him was in 2022. So the last time that we've had snow that was at the level that you needed to get somebody to shovel you out was in 2022. And now here we are, 2026. We're getting more snow than we've had in, I guess they say it's about the same as 10 years ago. It was really significant. And the snow is heavy. It's very heavy, very thick, very fluffy. But New York definitely got hit. Boston has snow up to people's waist at their door. It's really crazy. It is and to think that it literally melted from the last snowstorm of January. Maybe
right now,
24 hours. It was 24 hours ago.
I swear to God, like the last bit of snow that I seen on my block was the day before it snowed. Yeah. And I was like, the ice is actually melting. Like you can actually move around like freely. And now the snow is like, no. Hold up.
No, it's crazy out there. The only other thing I have to say, I know we're talking about the snow for a long time, and some people might be like, especially if you don't live here, because I was on a conference call today, and it was so many people who were in LA, they had t-shirts on, people who had their suits on, they were in the office. People, they probably like this whole thing we going through, and the fact that we're like, oh my God, and we want to talk about it to anybody that calls on the phone and posts and look at videos. There are people who don't have this experience, they don't even know what we're talking about. But the thing I want to say to folks who are acting like crazy about kids having to go to school in the snow, the world that we live in today, I get it. We're in a new time. Things are just different. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm going to say there is a very big possibility that Tamika D. Mallory is wrong. But when I was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, a little short baby, I used to be walking through snow that was up here, like the snow was up to my sides. I had to have on all kinds of stuff. I remember going to school with a change of clothes and having to take everything off and put dry things on. Boots was in the closet. First it was boots in the cubby hole. Then we had the closet. You had to put your boots in there, hang your stuff up. My parents used to have to bring us upstairs and help us get dressed real quick. As I got older, they didn't even do that. They dropped you off at the door with a bag and you had to go figure out how to get yourself in your uniform skirt. The skirt was over snow pants. And we went to school.
Yeah.
I get it that you want to be safe and you want to be all of it. But see, the other thing about it that I do understand is a little bit different today than it was when we were young. We went to school in our community. See, that's another
That too.
factor. That's another thing that has changed. We went to school no more than like 10 blocks away. So we trucked it. People were trucking it and they
Yeah.
went to school. And by the way, I think another issue that a lot of people do not understand, and we've been talking a lot on the show. We talked last week about passports and the privilege, as you said, the luxury of passports and all of that. People do not understand that there are some people who their job is opening up two
And they
days
don't care
after
nothing
a
about no snow.
snowstorm.
Yeah.
Where's the
During the
kid?
snow. Some people's
Where's the
job is to get the snow.
there were people working right in the midst of this snowstorm the day after or during the time that the snow. My sister left the house because works in the hospital. She has to go to work. So for me, it's kind of like, I get and I completely 100% that understand that, some of us are like, well, this is inconvenient. It's still dangerous. I get that. But I know that there are kids that unless they go to school, they don't have meals. I know that.
That's a fact.
Breakfast and
That's a luxury.
lunch for them happens at school. And sure, we should fix all the systems and do all the things so that is not the case. But in this moment, it is the case. So when you keep schools closed, you literally chain people to their homes or with their families to where they cannot go and take care of things that they're supposed to take care of. There's people out here that need the school to open so
That's
that
a
their
fact.
children could go to school. So he didn't say, and I'm talking about Mayor Mamdani, because they losing their shit in New York that we so upset, blah, blah, blah. He should give us a remote school day. Listen, bruh, he didn't say if you don't come, you're going to be fined and, and jailed. He just said school is open.
Yeah.
So if you go, you go. Ain't nobody finna teach no strong lesson in the midst
Yeah,
of
it
no
ain't even
snowstorm.
gonna be a lot of people. The kids gonna have a good time. Most of them probably gonna have a substitute. They probably
Yeah,
gonna do
if
gym
that,
most of the
if that.
day. Yeah, it's
Wait,
like
no,
sometimes.
no. It's like with us. They used to roll the TV down the hall and bring it in the thing. You remember when they used to
Yeah.
roll the TV
Yeah, we
in?
used to be in the auditorium half the school day. They have a movie on the screen. You got some games, whatever it was. It was probably the best day. You know what I'm saying? You ain't do much
Good
all
school
day.
day.
Yeah, it was a
Good
good.
school
And the
day.
thing is that people, like you said, people got to go to work. So if they kids is home from school, they don't have nowhere to take. They don't, especially they ain't got no daycare, they ain't got nothing, and you don't close everything down. Now when the kids is home and they done set some shit on fire, y'all gonna say that the parents ain't doing right by the kids. Like you gotta make it make sense, man. Send them kids to school. The school is pretty much like a daycare.
Or
That's what it
don't.
is.
No, listen, people don't like when you say that.
But it's the
Listen,
truth.
but listen,
As a
listen,
teacher, your job is to make sure the kids are safe. Go to that
listen,
work or call out because the substitute need him a couple dollars. He can't wait to
listen,
get called in.
listen to me. Send the child to school or don't.
Yeah, and if you want to stay home with your child, you have the right to stay
That's
home with
right.
your child.
That's it. That's it. Anyway, a lot of snow talk. Thing I was listening to someone say that snow is not just an inconvenience. It's also not just like a pretty pile of white stuff. It kills germs. Like when it snows, bugs and germs and different things in the environment, it sanitizes itself. And it's kind of like if you think about it, everything that God did, everything, right? The whole universe has a purpose. So the animals, the bugs, the everything. Now there's some stuff I don't know. I don't know if he meant for mosquitoes to do anything at all. They just might have just been a result of I don't know.
They got
But
something they do. You just don't know what it is. They do something. I'm telling
I
you.
don't believe it. I don't believe that mosquitoes do something.
Oh,
I
they
do not
definitely do
believe it.
something.
I know flies don't do anything. Nobody's gonna tell me that flies have a purpose. They nasty,
They
they
do.
stink.
They all of these things, like they eat like certain things that you don't eat. Certain things eat them that nourishes that needs to do something else. Like I promise you, every one of these insects, animals, things of nature, they serve a purpose.
Well, the snow actually cleans the air, the environment, and sterilizes things. So when I learned that, I was like, well, I guess we need snow. So hey, maybe. But I can tell you one thing. To me, there is a direct connection between just how gloomy it's been, how cold it's been, how awful the weather has been, and like how I'm feeling about the world. It's like the things are aligned for me that it has been kind of like overcast and dark and gloomy. And so that's just kind of how I feel. I mean, other people will probably say I'm tripping, but I feel like God doesn't make any mistakes. And it seems to me, if you had to ask me, I would say what my grandma say, he ain't pleased with us. But anyway, that's neither here nor
But
there.
it's true. And I think that's why that is it's ironic and it actually makes sense that Ramadan is right now, right? Because when as you fast, it's to get
And
closer
Lent.
to
It's
God
Ramadan and Lent at the
and
same
Lent. So
time. Hmm.
so as you fast, as you give up things for Lent, and you get more deep in tune with yourself, and you get more in tune with God. It cleanses you, right? It gives you
Hmm.
clarity. You understand what's going on. As you going through this fast, and as you giving up things for Lent, you actually see more purpose. You actually see a lot more clearer. So as you said, it's dreary and all these things. So I think it's time for us to fast. The whole world should be doing some level of fasting to get in
Yeah.
tune and just find out, like, what should I be doing in this moment? What is my purpose in this moment? Because we definitely in that time.
Well, I am fasting this in this season. I'm fasting. For Lent, I always give something up. Every year I give up something for the 40 days of Lent. Last year, my 40 days of Lent, what I gave up was Target, shopping at Target. And within 20 days, I no longer even felt the need for Target. This year I am doing a Ramadan adjacent fast. And I would say that only because I have been drinking water and tea, which the last couple of days, the first days, I felt like the water and the tea was like a crutch. I also am perimenopausal. So not having any water or anything to help me, and then I have anxiety. I got a lot going on. So every now and then I need some water and something keep me calm and keep me from going crazy on people, places, and things. So I felt like I needed it so bad. But then today, I didn't really drink any water. I had one cup of tea. And I wasn't drinking like 2 and 3 bottles of water.
Mhm.
And I also kind of feel like when it's time to eat, yes, I do feel an urgency to break fast, but I also don't feel so hungry that I need like a massive feast of food. I just need enough food for survival. And that tells you that we overconsume. To me, that's the thing that I'm learning is that I overconsume because one thing that hasn't changed is it's like habit that I was thinking, oh, we're getting ready to go to Chicago to honor our now ancestor, Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr. And there's a recipe. First of all, Chicago has the best eating in the damn country. I gotta go back to Rashad of Earn Your Leisure because he asked the question one time, "Where's the best food?" I said New Orleans. I think he might have said New York or LA. And I'm like, no way. But I got to tell him it's in Chicago. It's in Chicago because he said, well, it can't be in New Orleans because New Orleans food is just, it's good, but it's unhealthy, a lot of it. And so he's like, no, we can't use New Orleans. But I got to tell him it's in Chicago because you get all kind of food. So there's a restaurant there that I love, 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 love. And as I was like, okay, we're going in for the service. I'm gonna make a reservation at this restaurant, and then I realized everybody on our team that's going is on Ramadan fast. so so we can't go to the restaurant. We got to go back to New York on the plane.
Yeah, you're right. Everybody's on fasting right now, so it wouldn't
There's
really make
no
much sense. Well, you could just
right.
take a doggy back. You know what I'm saying? We go there,
No,
get
but
a
we
dog.
don't. But we're
Or we could
not
go after we
traveling.
fit. Oh, you're on the plane. Yeah.
We're going back to New York.
Yeah.
So we're leaving at the time
That
when
we
it
break
would
the
be
fast.
sundown. Right. So we can't go to the restaurant. And I said, damn, but I realized that so much of my social life is arranged around food and drinks. So, you have to be really careful with both things because you end up drinking much more wine and cocktails because you going out, you drinking here, you going here, you go over here. Everybody's doing it. Oh, let me buy you a drink, get a glass of wine, you doing thing. So you got to be careful, but you also have to be mindful of that with food. Because breakfast meetings, lunch meeting, dinner, get home snack, that's a lot of eating in one day. So anyway, those are some of the things in addition to me being in prayer that I am noticing that we have, as Americans, we overconsume food.
Ain't no question about that. If you look at the hypertension rate, you look at the diabetes rate, you look at
True,
the obesity rate in America, we lead in all of those categories. So
true
we
that, true
gotta
that.
figure this out.
Speaking of Reverend Jackson, there was a video that I was really, really just touched by. Um, Over the weekend during Savior's Day, which is the highest holy occasion of the Nation of Islam, Minister Farrakhan was speaking and he talked about his relationship to Reverend Jesse Jackson. He said in a clip that, he loves his brother and he talked about what Reverend Jackson has meant and his impact on the community. And he said some really powerful things. And I think that the most important to me, especially as you watch Minister Farrakhan, he is definitely aging, right? Like you can clearly see that from the last 10 years, he's changed, just like all of us have changed in one way or another, but you can see it. And so I think that it's so important that every time we hear from our leaders, our elders, that we hear a gem, right? I think about before Hazel Deuce passed away, she spoke at a church on New Year's Eve and she prayed. She was praying. The prayer is so powerful. The prayer was amazing because she was laying out what God has done for her and reminding people what she came through, right? And that is so powerful because we all are on our journey. And when you get to 92 years old and you can look back and recall the dark moments, the times when you thought, oh, they got me this time, I don't know how I'm gonna make it out, and you know where your help came from, that's very powerful. And so Minister Farrakhan left this nugget where he says, you will never, ever catch me out here basically disparaging, I'm paraphrasing Reverend Jackson, because of his contribution that, his God balances us out. And I think that was a different video. I don't know where that came from, but I saw somewhere, maybe it was your page, talking about the balance of what what's good from what's bad, what's right from what's wrong or whatever. And the thing that touched me about what he said is that I know because I've been in this movement in like up in it, not knowing about it, not reading about it, not studying it, not hearing from other people, but literally in this movement as a small child since I was young. So I know firsthand about the changes that all those guys went through. I know about the relationship issues. And by relationships, obviously, I mean family, familial relationships, where, Minister Farrakhan and how he has felt, and then, things that one person said or how another person may have felt, and Reverend Jackson and his position and how people at one point treated him and things that people have said about him. Like, I know it. I watched it. I didn't just read about it. I was a little girl, but I remember the conversations. I remember serving water or coffee or being around, even as a little girl, playing and hearing even my parents recall, just like we do, old child. They didn't have social media, so people didn't get to see this stuff play out like that. But it was closer because back in those days, the conversations were like family to family, neighbor to neighbor. So we know they had beef. They had little beefs, little pop up controversies and conflicts. But his gem, Minister Farrakhan is leaving us with, is a gem of your good outweighs your bad. That the way that God sees us is to look at our good over our bad. And therefore, he would never find himself sitting, disparaging him at any point, but particularly here the man has gone on to glory. And I thought that was important. And it's also a reminder for me that I have to be mindful, and I try my best to do it. But it is always a good reminder that we are supposed to seek out the best of one another versus pointing out the worst. Now, if you support Donald Trump, I put you in a whole different category. But I would say, just that I thought that was powerful. It was a beautiful thing. And I was glad to hear it. And it was like also on my shoulder, like, check yourself, because this is what life is really all about. That none of us are going to be perfect. We going to make all kinds of moves that may upset people and ruffle the feathers, but when it's all said and done, what was the substance of your life? And that's what I think Minister Farrakhan said that moved me.
I mean, it was touching to me too, and it was two different ones, because the one that was on my page, you could tell it was years ago, and it was so profound, because that's what a lot of the ministers, takes and his speeches and his jewels are. They're long lasting. Like you can go back to something he said 20 years ago, and it's so profound to the meaning of what's happening right now. So when he said that, he was speaking like right now, and then when he went to Savior's Day, he pretty much reiterated it, but I have this issue all the time that I say, why do we expect our leaders to be perfect? And if they're not perfect, why do we dismiss the good and the things that they've done? Like, to ignore what Reverend Jesse Jackson has done throughout his life, what he gave to Black people, what he fought for Black people, the way that he was able to make sure that Black people were included within corporate America, that Black people had a space, when he talked about how Reverend Jackson had debated some of the top white people in this world and beat them, he went against their best, and he showed that we had people that had that type of intellect, that were able to debate and able to compete on every level. He ran for president twice and won states as a Black man during the height of racism, height of all of those things. So when we have these conversations about our leaders, we don't give them enough credit, and we disparage them more than anybody else does. I hear people have conversations about the minister ain't this. Like, I go on my page and I post that, and they go, "Oh, they all sellouts," and I'm like, so what is not a sellout to you? Right? You looking for somebody to be perfect? Like, I know that Minister Farrakhan and Jesse Jackson has done way more than the people that are commenting about them. I know when they look back on their legacy, when their children looks back on their legacy, when the nation looks back on Minister's legacy, when Rainbow Push and everybody looks back on the legacy of Reverend Jesse Jackson, they can look and say that there was accomplishments, there were things done, and it's so disheartening to know that the people that those people have fought for and they have made change for, that they have actually created lanes for, or and some of them are benefiting, all of them are benefiting off the work and the sacrifices that they put in, actually utilize their voices and platforms to disparage them. It's disheartening. As a person who actually is out here fighting on these front lines, trying to get things, for the betterment of my people, it really is disheartening saying, I know I've sat in rooms with the Reverend. I've sat in rooms with the minister. I've watched how they have sacrificed. I've watched them be crucified. I've watched them go through the fire and say it doesn't matter because it's going to be betterment for my people, and I'm going to always speak truth to power, and I'm going to stand on principles. And sometimes they may have made a mistake. Some of them may have said something wrong. Some of them may have done something wrong, but that's human nature. None of us are perfect.
And it's not May. It's not May.
They have.
Because they have absolutely said wrong things that have been wrong. They have made people feel not feel good about themselves, right? I know that I told you, we always talk about me making a particular comment. We won't get into it today. And I started getting calls from people who are like folks that know me. And they were like, I'm a little confused about this, which means that sometimes, even in your good intention, you can say things out of line. Sometimes ego drives us. Sometimes we could just be rude, cruel.
And sometimes you could just be wrong, right? And somebody could change your mind. Like, I've watched the minister throughout his age and throughout his years grow and evolve in his thinking, right? I watched him say certain things in the 80s and 90s and then watch in 2000s and be like, well, that's a completely different minister. I've sat there where he's told me that he changed his way of thinking in the way that he understood certain things. I watched where he sat in front of his congregation and said, I used to feel this way and this way I feel this way now. And that's part of growth. That's what leadership is. If you're not learning and growing every day, then you can't be a leader. So I just think that we not too much on our leaders, man, because a lot of them have the sacrifices they made, and just be in a space to where there are certain people who consider me a leader and they follow and believe in me, and knowing that the sacrifices I made in certain places I can't go, and certain people I can't, or I would never, rooms they'll never let me in, because I know that I speak certain truth to power. And to hear certain people that that you fight for and you willing to die for speak negatively about you, it's the worst thing that you can feel. It's actually worse than anything else, because I expect the people that I'm fighting against to say negative things about me. But somebody that that somebody that you have sacrificed for, I seen it's a meme that I was going to post, but I didn't even post it. And it said, right now, there's somebody that you gave a lot to and sacrificed a lot for saying negative things about you.
Well, it says there's somebody you helped.
You helped. Well, it was the same. It pretty much was the same thing, and it was like, and it's true. It's somebody that you helped, and you helped, that is in a room right now speaking backbiting and speaking negatively about you, and it's just like, I don't, So R.I.P. to Jesse Jackson, and much love to the minister, just for his profoundness and his always being authentic. That's one thing I can say about. I haven't been around Reverend Jackson as much, but I've been around the minister, and his heart is always pure. And whether it's right or wrong, whether it's right or wrong, it's always pure, and his heart is always in the right place, whether he's right or wrong. And he's not above critique. He's not above having a conversation, or you telling him that you don't like something. He's willing to listen. And I think those are the qualities of leadership. We're not gonna always get it right. Some of us might die with something that's wrong. But my thing is, my moral compass, when I say something, I know that I'm not saying it to harm my people. Right. And I know if I do something, I know I'm not doing it to harm my people. I know I can sleep good at night knowing that I had the best intentions, whether it was right or wrong. I know that my heart was always in the right place. So,
Yeah, absolutely. We're not, like they always say, we don't agree with ourselves all the time. And so there's that. you know, and we do need room for grace, and we also have to give people grace, because you know we need to know that folks hear things and see things through their life experiences, and that's how they meet you. And so there's a lot to go around, but I appreciated that, you know, that I appreciated that I felt uh, there was an elevation in my, like, taking me to my higher self, to think about this the passing of someone who one day I will be mentioned, not necessarily anything to the degree of what Reverend Jackson has done, but I will at least be mentioned in a category of those people who were on the front lines for our community and for justice and what have you. And I would hope that other people who may have had, you know, we've had some tough moments. I cannot sit here and tell you there's been no conflict, there's been no beefs, there's been no issues with us and other people in the movement. And I am hopeful that when we go, we can depend on, and we can also look at ourselves and know that what is most important is for us to recount the important things that we did, not just good, but the important things that we did, versus to try to hold us to the worst moments in our lives, the worst things we said, the, you know, whatever the best things you could judge us on. So
I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I was I was honored to speak at the late great Malcolm X's memorial at the Shabazz Center this weekend, and I said the exact same thing. You know, me and Malcolm have similar stories coming from the streets, you know, being incarcerated, evolving during incarceration, and coming home and trying to, you know, be better people and speak truth to power and stand for our people. And I said, I know I'm no Malcolm X by any means, but just understanding that he was able to evolve. You know, and people act like they don't realize that he was once Detroit Red. You know, I tell people he was Malcolm, then he was Malcolm Little, he was Malcolm Little, then he was Detroit Red, and then he was Malcolm X. You know, so there's a part of us that all have opportunities. All of us go through our growth processes, man. And the person that I am today is not the person that I once was. The ideologies, thought process, things that I believed as a child, I don't believe now. You know, so do not hold me, and I'm not beholden to the worst moments. I'm not beholden to, you know, the quote unquote crime boss that they tried to make me in New York Post. You know, I'm a different individual now, and I hope that we give all of our brothers and sisters the opportunity to grow and evolve.
absolutely, absolutely. R.I.P. to Reverend Jesse Jackson.
R.I.P.
So let me get into my thought of the day. Let me get my notes,
Yeah, I got me
because
some notes too.
I have to bring,
Yeah, you got to come with receipts because
because
these
these
people crazy.
people, you know, it just get to be so much until I be having to get my notes out, bruh. Let me tell you, today, my thought of the day is the lies they tell and the way we spread it. Okay? There is an intentional operation of misinformation on these devices. And by the way, it is not just on devices, it's in conversations that people have. Folk that I thought at one point had their good sense have been kissed by the evil curse of misinformation,
Yeah.
right? They've been cursed with misinformation. And so, you know, I've been doing my learning how to use AI, using Claude and I'm again and ChatGPT and all of that, because I'm using the white folk platforms, because y'all love white folk information. Love it, love it, love it. When the black people tell you something, you know, it's like, for me, I may not know all the data. That's not necessarily my I won't even say it's a weakness. It's not a strength or a weakness. It's just not the thing. I don't
You just know
necessarily
the facts, and
study.
you don't know the data that go along,
I
the
don't study,
numbers.
but I
So
have people, friends like L. Joy Williams and Brittany Packnett and
Angelo.
others, Angelo Pinto, Angela Rye, who know the data. And then when we talk or when I hear them say it, then I'm able to add it to my messaging. And I also, of course, when I'm making presentations, I do my research. So I'm learning AI. I don't need to use AI to make videos and pictures and all of that. I'm not into that. I don't need to do that. That's not my thing. That's other people do creative. Me, I'm like, let me use it so I can go get the white folk, what they got to say about these issues that we keep debating. And I want to bring up 3 issues today. So let me just say that one of the things that has me hot is how we're going to ignore the murder of Dr. Linda Davis. This is
Don't
the
you
woman.
go and say that. The murder. Don't you go on with that.
She was murdered, okay, in vehicular manslaughter, I guess is what they would call it. So some people would say she was killed, she was murdered. And let me tell you why I see it that way.
Let's go.
Right?
Come
I
on
see
now.
it that way because there are multiple layers and individuals who are responsible for how this woman's life was taken from her. And I have a 2-part thing on this. One is my thought of the day around the lies they tell and the way we spread it. But the other side is the way that this system just discards Black people and particularly Black women. This woman, Dr. Linda Davis, died, I don't know, maybe 7 days ago. No, as a matter of fact, it was February 16th. It was February 16th that she was killed. And you know what? You could barely find news about it. If you Google, you might find a story or two, but it is not on the internet. I remember when Renee Good was shot and killed. And then, of course, when what's his name? Alex Petty, when he was killed, rightfully so. They were on the TV from the morning to the night. And Samantha, I don't remember her last name. Please excuse me. I deal with perimenopause. It takes my memory away sometimes. The mother who has been missing now for going on 3 weeks. The news from the morning to the night has the stories of what happened to these individuals on loop. We hear about it all day. Resources, conversations. The White House has to speak to it. We're in a situation where with Dr. Linda Davis, there's not even, the White House don't even feel the need to tell the lies that they told on every other situation about her because there's no pressure that is being applied from the broader community, the same way that, and this is why people feel disengaged when they see horrific things happen to white folks that they know is terrible that it took place, but they refuse to expend any of their energy on fighting it because they know that when it comes to us, the energy will not be the same when a Black person is at the center of it. Nevertheless, I want to make sure that we clarify a few things about what happened to Dr. Linda Davis.
Please.
So I asked AI to tell me more about ICE's policy on chasing people. Okay.
That's what I did.
Because the people in the comment section
always
feel that we are the ones spreading misinformation when we say that ICE is responsible for her death. Here's the reason why this is problematic. ICE is prohibited from chasing someone in a non-violent situation, period. So that's period. They are required to pursue at a later time. They are to disengage from a chase. They are to follow maybe at a distance. They are supposed to basically circle back and find another way to apprehend an individual who is a subject of their interest. They are not allowed. They are prohibited from chasing a person who has not committed a violent offense. So guess what I did? I went and asked the AI systems whether or not the man who hit and killed Miss Linda, whether or not he was, whether or not he was wanted for a violent offense. And the answer is no.
No.
He was not even wanted. He was not wanted for a violent offense. He had not committed. In fact, what they say is that the violent offense is now the death of Dr. Linda, who happens to be a special education teacher in Savannah, Georgia, who was, by all accounts, a beautiful woman going about her business, just doing her regular thing, and this situation happened. So
Yep.
that's number one. That's number one. Unfortunate, horrific incident that took her life. Then she was in the car for 25 minutes without receiving any attention from the
At all.
ICE thugs. They didn't give her any attention. And it took the citizens, the people in the neighborhood, to go and figure out how to get her freed from the car. And of course, she died. So that's one thing, right? So to summarize, ICE can only chase someone if it is a person who has committed a violent offense and they are in pursuit of that individual. If not, they are supposed to stand down and find another way to apprehend the individual, because
Right.
it says that in a chase, it is too easy pretty much for innocent bystanders to become casualties of such chase.
And then there's also certain departments focus on that. So the people who engaged this man were more than likely not qualified to pursue him. There are certain qualifications that your vehicle must have. There are certain qualifications that you must have. So if they were just approaching someone who's a person of interest who may have been,
He wasn't even it was a traffic stop. And of course, when he knew that they were getting ready to try to do whatever, they started chasing him and he ran off. And this is how this whole incident played out. Okay.
Exactly. So
But
you know what that's called? Now, if it was an average citizen, right, who had broken the law, because they pretty much broke the law. They went against their own protocol. That would be felony murder for me and you. Let's say me and you had broke the law, the police, we were criminals and we ran, and the police shot and killed somebody. You would be
you
guilty.
get charged.
We would be guilty of felony murder. We would be guilty
even because we caused the officer to have to discharge his weapon or whatever incident that made this person be killed.
Exactly.
This is facts. So point two, most police departments around the country also have a protocol that states that they do not chase in school districts. They do not chase. So most law enforcement agencies or police departments have a protocol that they follow, that they do not chase in school districts because of the same thing. It is too easy for innocent bystanders, which includes children, to be caught in the crosshairs of such chase. So that means that on two levels, you have ICE that is not supposed to pursue an individual who has not committed a violent crime, and you put that person in, and also then look at the local protocols of most police departments. You're not supposed to be chasing someone in a local school district. So when people tell us, oh, y'all are spreading misinformation, no, we're not. What you said is the key point, that in any other civilian situation, if you cause the death of another individual because you are doing something that is illegal and, as you said, negligent, then you are also held responsible. And that is why we hope. And moreover, yes, I hold the person, the individual who is being paid from my tax dollars. I hold the individual who's supposed to have training, the person who has a weapon, the person who's supposed to be dealing with the safety of our society. I hold that person much more responsible than a person who doesn't even have a violent background, which goes to the fact that more than 90% of the people that you have detained have not fit the criteria that you lie about every day and say that you're getting rid of the most violent criminals. You have a 5%, 5%, 5% success rate in doing that.
That's a fact.
Okay. So yes, I definitely don't hold him more responsible. Should he be held responsible? Certainly. And I'm sure you're going to make sure that happens. The problem is that we have an obligation to see that you be held responsible. And what frustrates me is that this is what I mean when people say, oh, we ain't got nothing to do with that. Black people don't have any. So you telling me Dr. Linda, right? Because they say, stay out the way. Doing her regular day. So what could she have done to stay out the way? What could Dr. Linda have done to stay out the way from agencies that did not uphold their own protocols and a man who was undocumented and ran from authorities? What should a Black woman named Dr. Linda have done? And that is why we said that a wild chase and a process of invading people's constitutional rights is not the appropriate process for catching, finding, detaining, and deporting undocumented people in this country. So that's my first thing that I just want to say, y'all got to stop, okay? We're not confused. We're not confused. So let me go to my next one. I got three. I'm going to go fast so you can get to yours.
All right, get to it. Talk about it. Come on now.
My son, please.
Talk that shit. You talking that shit today.
No. So then let me say, to get out quickly, this issue of the voter suppression piece and the Save America Act. Because also there are people who are still trying to say, well, I can't believe they're even using the fact that Mamdani and the Department of Sanitation want two forms of identification for people to be able to shovel snow. And they like, oh, you don't mind the identification for that, but you got a problem with you don't mind the identification right for the Department of Sanitation, but you got a problem with people using identification to vote. We have never said we had an issue with people using identification to vote. Never. You can use, if people want to have you use the real ID because the first one is fake, and so you need the real one to now, which you didn't have to pay to get the real ID. If they want to have you use that in order to prove your identification in order to vote, nobody ever said they have a problem with that. Many states have a law or at least a rule where people have to do that. No one said they had a problem with that. When I go to vote, I always bring my ID because I know they might ask me. I've been asked sometimes and sometimes I'm not. What we're talking about is proof of citizenship. The fact that there is an additional barrier that is being applied to people in an election year when it is a very consequential election, that there is all of a sudden rush and this big intention and urgency to add barriers to people's ability to vote when there's no such thing as widespread voter fraud. So we're going to keep calling it out because we see the game. We understand it's a 3-card Molly. You moving things around and you think we can't see it. No, you know what? Some people were good at 3-card Molly. Some people could watch the card move all around. My Uncle Jimmy, he could watch the card move all around. He knew the game and he would tell you they playing fair or not because he knew whether or not the card was the right card that was moving or if a little magic trick was happening. Y'all trying to put us in a magic trick. We're not stupid. There's no reason for there to be this new need for proof of citizenship at a time when you haven't even given people the ability to get the things that they need. There needs to be a year-long process where you are helping people get their passports and giving them the tools they need, the resources, suspending fees, figuring out how to help people get signed up to be able to get their passports and to get their documents in order. If you were doing it for the right reasons, that is what you would do. But that is not what's happening. And it is because they have a particular intention. And those of us who know it and can see it do not care about the trolls that come to our comment section to tell the lies, to spread the lies that are being told by those people who are in the powers that be group or category.
Yeah, it's pretty
Number
simple.
3. You please, by
No,
all
it's really
means,
pretty
please
much simple.
respond.
Like nobody, like you said, nobody said we don't want you to have ID. It's good to have ID. And most of the times when you ain't got your ID, all that other ID shit that you said they needed, they had it at that time. They might not have it no more. So that's what I'm
Exactly.
saying. This is just a false sense of bullshit to try to just, disparage people and disenfranchise and make people feel like, damn, I don't even know where I put my motherfucking birth certificate at, man. I don't need no. Why I want to give? I got my ID right here. I go to places, and if you ask me for too many forms of ID, I don't even want to go. If they like, yo, you need this and that, I got my driver's license. Are they gonna take that? Because I'm not doing too much. Like I don't want to go through all that shit.
Exactly. So let's go to my third one so I can be done. But I saw that on The View, Chris Lee, and I used to like Chris Lee. I did like that family. The daughter, I love that family. I used to watch them all the time. It's really sad that this young lady, I don't care if she supports Trump, doesn't matter to me. I'm not that caught up on what white people are doing. But what I will say is that when you start trying to spread these talking points, you need to know what you're talking about. And I do notice that they kind of shifted the talking points a little bit because they realized that the first lie that was being told was that Donald Trump gave more funding to HBCUs than any other president, or at least any president in recent history. That is a lie. It is a lie that has been told over and over again. And at the table on The View, when she got into the HBCU funding, then they didn't get a chance to really go into the factual information, but they did shoot it down and say the funding was already there. Let us be very, very clear, okay, so that everybody will understand. What Donald Trump did was that he signed the Future Act in 2019. So the Future Act that's in 2019 in his last presidency was basically to stop HBCUs from falling into situations where their funding may have lapsed or it expired, where people had to basically do these application processes all the time, and it created an issue with people's funding and the regularity of such. So he signed into law the Future Act in 2019. Now, at the time, just so everybody is clear, that made $255 million that was already in annual funding. It made it more permanent, so the process is easier. And then he assigned another $1.3 billion in funding to HBCUs. That is his record. $1.3 billion he actually gave HBCUs, and he signed the Future Act, which made the process where people, again, had more continuity in their funding. Future Act is cool. No problem. I'm willing, when I see something that's right, that's a good thing that happened. But the fact that people say that he gave more funding to HBCUs than any other president, or at least any other president in recent history, because that's what I've heard, it is a lie. Okay. Barack Obama funded HBCUs to the tune of $4 billion. It was more than $4 billion. So of the $1.3 billion that Donald Trump assigned to HBCUs, right now, just President Obama, he did more than $4 billion. But guess what? Joe Biden gave schools $16 billion. $16 billion. Now, one would say, well, Joe Biden had a different mandate because it fell during COVID. And so there was more that had to be done. Cool. So that's 16 billion. But if you drop it down to a lower, higher number, you would look at exactly what I just told you about President Obama at $4 billion, which is more than Donald Trump's. So, to be clear, I'm not even arguing that. That's never even been something that came up that we like, oh, look what he didn't do for HBCUs. Nobody, cool. He gave an extra $1.3 billion. That's great. No problem. But don't sit here and use as one of your talking points that he gave more money than any other president when it is a lie. It is a lie. If you stick with the things that are actually facts, we could actually say, you know what, we agree with that. That's actually right. Or that was a good thing, but it is not true. And so again, the lies they tell, and then you with your big dumb self go, somebody that's supposed to have good sense, you hear some lie that is being told to you by Fox News or by some racist person who is in your friend circle because you're so busy trying to be around people thinking that it's making you something. Now all of a sudden you a big Negro that gets an opportunity to go hang out around some of these kind of people that don't like you because you still nigger, as Jay-Z said. You still nigga, and you think that because you hanging out and snob-nobbing with people, that when they telling you the Fox News bullshit that keeps us supposedly in our place, you start repeating that dumbass shit and don't know what you're talking about.
All the
Running
time.
around talking about people are paid protesters when folks that are out here organizing and in these streets losing their life are actually probably the most underpaid, underrepresented, mistreated people in the freaking society. But you saying all of this stuff because your big dumb self done drank the Kool-Aid of the racist fucking folks who don't even like you. And the moment that they get a chance to put you in your place and show you that you still a nigga, they're going to do that to you. So if y'all want to lie, you can lie all day. You can spread whatever you want to spread, but you can be damn sure that I'm going to use their tools and my good brain to come back and check bullshit every time that I get a chance.
And every time you get a chance, I'm going to say, I don't get it. Because I don't get none of this shit. Because it goes right into my I don't get it. Like, I could have just expounded on what you're saying. My I don't get it is pretty simple. I don't get how people keep saying Kamala and Trump and Republicans and the Democrats is two wings of the same bird and the same thing. I was listening to Dr. Umar today, and he was having a conversation. He was talking about why he didn't vote for Kamala and why he didn't vote for Trump. And he said, Trump is okay. Yeah, Trump is trying to get rid of black people. Yeah, he's trying to deport us. Yeah, he's taking away our resources. But Kamala would have did the same thing. And I'm
Lies.
I said, what are you even talking about? At this point, rather than just say you wrong, you want to continue on and pontificate and use big words. It's so many, like it's such disheartening because I have a lot of love for Dr. Umar. I think he's a brilliant guy, but at some point, you just have to acknowledge that you're wrong, right? A lot of black people, a lot of people who have made these points, these talking points about the two wings of the same bird bullshit that y'all keep on running over and over. You're not going to tell me that if Kamala was the president, that DEI would be gone. You're not going to tell me that if Kamala was the president, that they would be rolling back civil rights. You're not going to tell me that they would be defunding our organizations and our businesses and that we would have the highest level of unemployment in over 20 years. Over 300,000 black women are out of the workforce and many more. People say that it's probably about 1 million. You're not going to tell me that would have happened if Kamala was the president. So start with this same bird, two different wings. It's bullshit. At this point, what Donald Trump is doing is directly disenfranchising black people. He is targeting black people. He is making sure that the word black is a violent word. He has demonized black people. He is making sure that everything that has to do with black, he wants to erase our place inside this nation. He wants to erase our history. They are discarding our books. They are taking the professions that our kids have gone to school and studied for decades, who have become professionals. He is saying he is delegitimizing professions that black people have excelled in. They have lowered the whole government, which most of our black people have jobs inside of, so that they can disparage us. You're not going to tell me that that would have happened if Kamala was the president. So stop with this two wings of the same bird bullshit. Just admit that y'all was wrong, that y'all voted for a racist that is intentionally disenfranchising black people, that is intentionally pushing white supremacy, that is intentionally putting black faces with white minds in places that can disparage us. Don't tell me that that's not happening. Stop trying to tell me that it's the same shit, because it's not. And you know it's not. We know that we wouldn't be in this situation. And the closest we came to the situation is when Trump was in office. So stop with the bullshit talking points. Stop going to Fox News. Stop listening to these fake ass bloggers who don't have any intellect, that don't have any facts to back up, that keep saying the same shit, that keep telling you, yeah, the immigrants is out of here and there ain't no boys and girls bathrooms and all this bullshit, the same talking points that they run with all the time. Don't tell me that that shit right there is more important than the livelihood. I went to the fucking supermarket and spend $300 and only have 4 bags of groceries. You're not going to tell me that things are not changing. You're not going to tell me that my motherfucking light and gas bill that is $800 a month is not crazy. You're not going to tell me that our fucking health insurance that most of us can't even afford would have been the same way if Kamala was the president. You're just not going to tell me that. So stop acting like this shit ain't crazy out here. Stop acting like Donald Trump is not directly, and everything that he's doing is directly impacting us. Just stop doing it, because you're not fooling anybody. Don't matter how many times y'all run these talking points and y'all try to run the internet and you get to, you control the media and social media. Real life is happening. Us real life people that's on the ground, that's living life every day, we understand the direct impact of Donald Trump being president. Stop telling me that the economy is good. It's not good. The economy is not doing good. Nothing is happening good in America right now. So whoever you're trying to convince that shit, don't try to convince us with that. Get off these fucking soapboxes with these fake ass talking points, trying to convince us of dumb shit. I don't care how good your vocabulary is. I don't care how many degrees you got. You are not convincing the average everyday person that was not a big difference between Kamala and Donald Trump.
I mean, I don't have much to say to respond to that, because I've obviously talked a lot with my 3 points today. I would say that if Kamala Harris was president, would Black people still be getting killed by police? Would there still be, trouble in the Middle East, a genocide happening? Would there still be a crisis around, many of the disparities that people of color and people who are vulnerable, would they be experiencing it? Absolutely. It's definitely 100%, because the systems that operate, it doesn't matter who's at the head of it, it's going to continue to operate. I was saying, that to somebody, it might have been, we were talking to Afia about it last week on the show around the Mamdani administration, that they could go in there with all of the hopes and dreams that they want. They can go in there talking diversity and inclusion, but guess what? Black people still didn't get on. No Black person was on the program at an event recently that there should have been a Black person, and there was no Black deputy mayor assigned or appointed, and other things, because systems in place allow things to happen that have to be intentionally corrected all the time. And it's work to do it. You have to be intentional about it. And the intention is so heavy that most people are not even up for the responsibility, because it's you have to sometimes fight against the person that sleeps with you, right? And I mean, I'm just thinking about that as it relates to the genocide in it's of the Palestinian people. The woman's husband, right? Kamala's husband, I ain't never heard him say that there was a genocide happening or speak in any way that gave me the impression that he was a big supporter of of sanctioning Israel. So I get that there would have still been some extreme challenges, but to the point that you're making, when it boils down to the everyday issues, Kamala Harris is one of those who has signed bills, stood with, walked in marches, spoke on behalf of, helped to draft bills around some of the small progress that we have made as Black folks, right? She has been a part of that. And we know for a fact that she, just by nature of her being who she is, a Black woman who has made it to the level that she's at, there is no way that she would have come into office and said, get rid of DEI. And then all of a sudden, hundreds of thousands of Black women would have fallen from the workforce. There's no way that that would have been in fact, if in fact, more than 300,000 Black women did not have jobs under a Kamala Harris presidency. I can promise you there would have been a summit, there would have been a conversation. She would have instructed the Fed chair to do something about it, to do something, because that, if it happened to white women, even under this president, it would be a national crisis and an international conversation. This is intentionally designed for our communities. So I do not believe that they are the same. I do believe that they both have problematic issues, and we have to challenge them because they're politicians, and politicians in general have to be challenged at every step. But what we're dealing with is an intentional plan around dictatorship and authoritarianism. And it is dangerous for our society in a way that we're going to look back in some time and be unable to unravel, or at least take us decades to try to fix some of what has now happened. And so I don't even get into, because I know what that all comes from. It's all bullshit. It's very dangerous, but that is why it's important for those of you who are out there to continue to support those of us who are not telling you not to challenge, not to be concerned, not to say when you see something wrong, but still have common sense in knowing that there was under no circumstances a man who wouldn't even rent apartments to Black people in years prior, the man who wanted to kill the Central Park Five, and even after finding out that they were exonerated, still wasn't willing to say anything that was a course correction from that, right? Still wasn't able to do it. And this was just recently, not however, this is after people done became city council members. Folk ain't been in no trouble, doing great work. Raymond Santana doing great work in the community. After all of that, they he still could not say those men and what they experienced, I didn't know, and I'm sorry. Still wouldn't happen. So I say all of that to say to you that I will not get into a back and forth. I will leave that to y'all to do. But I hope that what we are doing is providing a balance that is necessary so people know where to go to find information that does not make them, that they have to agree with everything that they say, but they will know that the information they find on the TMI podcast is actually factual in terms of what is happening today.
And we're always going to speak truth to power and give the facts, that we have research and that we have, credible messengers, and we have credible resources on our teams that are able to give us knowledge. And that's what we're going to always present, man. It really disheartens me when I hear that. And it's like, so right now, we're in the midst of one of the worst administrations, the most criminal administration in history. I have yet to see a administration just rob the treasury like they're taking billions of dollars from taxpayers, literally just stealing money from us every day.
But you see, this is the thing for me, and where I differ from you. I don't try to compare them to the worst. Yes, they are the worst. But the stealing, the robbing of American resources, perhaps we didn't see it in our lifetime because of our age. But the corruption has been there. The foundation for the corruption has been there. So that's how people start getting into oh, no, because I don't even care about that. What we are seeing today, what we are seeing happening right now is violent corruption. It is dangerous, and it's particularly targeting Black and other vulnerable populations. That is what's happening today. So if you want to go compare it to Reagan, compare it to the Bushes who stole, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of the wars that they started in other places so they could steal resources from other nations and put people in wars and have people dying in Iraq and all of that. If you want to go compare that, you can do that. But today it's our responsibility to fight just like people, Reverend Jackson and others, fought at their time, in their moment within this movement. But one thing we're not going to do is make the false equivalence that we would have been in the same situation. Will we still have been dealing with problems? Certainly, because that's just the American way. But it definitely would not look like what we see happening right now. And God rest Dr. Linda Davis, who I do not believe that she, along with Renee Good and Alex Pretty, would have been murdered the way that they were killed. Yes, deportation definitely would have taken place. I am not suggesting that people have not been deported, but the violent nature by which we see the Gestapo running around the American society on our streets, no, that would not have been happening under a Kamala Harris presidency.
And I concur. And with that said, we've come to the end of another episode of TMI. Make sure you continue to follow us, support us, so we can give you facts and real information. I'm not going to always be right. Tamika D. Mallory's not going to always be wrong, but we will both always, and I mean always, be authentic.
Peace.